All right, we are following breaking news out of Elkhart County. Prosecutors say no criminal charges will be filed against 2 Goshen officers and an Elkhart officer. A local family is remembering a missionary killed in Cameroon. Charles Wesco was shot going to the market. Take a look at this. Not 1, but 2 tornadoes in the sky over Iowa late this afternoon. Parts of North Carolina are bracing for more flooding as waterways like the Cape Fear River will likely crest far above flood stage. That is insane. Now, I could do the light for 2 months, but the darkness, no way.
No, I think I'm exact opposite. I can handle the darkness. Yeah, I don't think I could handle being light at 3, 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
It would drive me nuts.
But I think it's a good reminder that when it hits like 12 degrees around here, it can always be worse.
Oh yeah, it's really cold up there, obviously.
And the shooter is in custody right now. He is not cooperating with police. Police are still trying to figure out why he opened fire today. They say that the building is secure and there is no more threat. New at 10 tonight, a local mother is afraid there is nowhere left that's safe after her daughter was pricked by a needle at Walnut Park in Goshen. Organ donation is the reason Lillian is alive today, but saving someone's life could be as simple as donating blood. That's also something people need when they're going through these types of treatments.
What a miracle, right?
Yeah, she really is. And just being with her and playing with her, you would not have any idea that she was so sick just a few months ago.
Yeah, and that she only had 3 months to live.
Only 3
Incredible.
months. We begin with breaking news at 11. Police are on the scene of a shooting in the 1800 block of South Pulaski in South Bend. The call came in a little before 9 tonight. Police had heard gunfire and headed toward the area before the 911 call was received.
Dayne, the South Bend community, of course, offering support to her family.
Yeah, Jennifer, everyone is welcome to a prayer service at the Chapel of St. Joseph at St. Joseph High School. That's tomorrow morning at 7:30. 6-year-old twins Xavier and Mason Engel and their 9-year-old sister Olivia Stahl were hit and killed on their way to the bus. As you mentioned earlier, Todd, 11-year-old Maverick Lowe was also hit. He survived, and it's good news there that he is doing well. But this has been such a devastating week for the entire community, and really this has hit home for families all across the country. As you can see, she's doing totally fine now. I mean, she's clearly got those little chubby legs like babies should have, and she's gaining the weight that she needs to, and she eats fine. Now, she does have to take a lot of medication, and for the rest of her life, she will be prone to rejection. So that new liver that she has in her body can fail her at any time if she doesn't take care of her. Abby, thank you. Okay, cue the music. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. I can't sing. Todd, you sing it.
That sounds great. No, keep it up.
No. You don't want me to. Do me a favor. Imagine you're going home to your house for the first time in a week. It rained for days, and you're going home to nothing. Your house is flooded, your car is destroyed, and all you have are the things that didn't get wet. Unfortunately, that is the reality for a lot of our neighbors and community members right here in the Michiana area. New at 11, President Trump denying reports he plans to replace Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats.
But according to 2 senior administration officials, preliminary discussions are already underway.
We are learning new information about a plot prosecutors say was devised to kill a Berrien County soldier. Jeremy Quayler and Kamaya Hassel are charged with the murder of Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III. Hassel was found shot to death outside his father's home on New Year's Eve. Witnesses testified Kamaya and her alleged lover Jeremy used Snapchat to communicate and began plotting Sergeant Hassel's death while the 3 were stationed in Korea. Sergeant Hassel's father says it was hard to see his daughter-in-law in court today.
It's tough, man, especially knowing that now that she said she would have divorced him today, so that's showing some type of remorse, some type of meaning that she's sorry, but that's definitely hard.
Their trial will begin on April 30th.
That's really hard.
South Bend's LGBTQ Center says changes to an Indiana hate crime bill fail to recognize the impact of hate in our state on the most vulnerable. Indiana's Senate removed sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, race, and other protected classes from the proposed law. Instead, it added judges can consider bias in general as an aggravating circumstance. Supporters of the change say this makes the bill more fair to everyone. Those opposed say it leaves victimized groups without protections.
The question becomes, what's wrong in Indiana? Why cannot they pass a clear, meaningful bias crime in the state of Indiana? What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of the words race, religion, color, sex, gender identity, disability, national origin, ancestry, sexual orientation, and age?
Governor Eric Holcomb says the Senate changes do not get the state off the list of states without a bias crime law. Indiana is one of only 5 states without one.
Imagine no longer having to go to work, instead staying in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, that is what's happening to some employees at the Liberty Mutual branch in Mishawaka. WSBT 22's Lauren Becker is in the studio. And Lauren, they're starting a transition to virtually work from home. New at 11 tonight, Michigan's legislature now asking the state Supreme Court to step in on a debate over the paid minimum wage increase. Lawmakers changed those laws after voters passed them during the election. Democrats say the adopt and amend strategy is unconstitutional. Now Republicans are asking for the Supreme Court's opinion.
That's what it's provided for in the Constitution. And so you're right, it's not necessarily binding. It kind of depends on how they respond.
What this is about for me is making sure that we're giving workers the paid sick time that they deserve, and about making sure that people have a living wage.
Michigan Supreme Court could decide not to take up the issue, and if so, it will be left to Attorney General Dayne Marae. Construction will soon begin on a new outdoor training facility for the Goshen Fire Department. The $375,000 facility will be built using shipping containers. Firefighters will get the chance to take part in hands-on training involving controlled fires.
We'll be able to do exterior operations with our ladder trucks, laddering the structure itself. We'll be able to go inside, and we'll have true live fire conditions, which we can't do currently.
The new facility could open by July. The department hopes it becomes a regional training facility for departments in surrounding counties. All right, coming up, an award-winning Latina actress visiting Notre Dame to talk about the challenges facing the industry.
Yeah, and the Kelly Cares Foundation now helping families in need get food on the table.
Plus, cutting for a cause, some local students sporting new dues to help others.
And it's a soggy night as we look live in South Bend. Matt's tracking when it clears up. Still ahead. All right, from maintenance to management and everything in between. It takes a lot of hard work behind the scenes to get the South Bend Cubs ready for action, but who keeps those pinstripes intact?
You know, it's a tedious process getting all of those uniforms ready for game day. I spoke with the ladies responsible for putting the letters on the jerseys. And while they only have a few hours to get it done sometimes, the owner of the South Bend Seamstress says it's worth it to keep it in the community. Day in and day out, these machines at the South Bend Seamstress on Lincoln Way West are in motion. Owner Jennifer Stevens has been in business since 2015.
We're a full-service alteration shop, and then we also do custom clothing as well.
Taking measurements, pinning, snipping, and sewing, Jennifer and her one employee do it all.
I do all of the fittings with the clients, and then my coworker does most of the sewing.
But it's a team effort when the fashion is put on hold and the pinstripes take the lead.
From here, we'll take the start of the nameplate and add the name to it.
You're looking at the official seamstress for the South Bend Cubs.
South Bend Cubs reached out to us last year because they were losing the seamstress they had been using and asked if we would be interested in working with them. We jumped at the opportunity and said sure, and now we're with them and do all of their sewing.
Walk-off home run!
It was an easy pick for the Cubs and one they don't plan on trading.
Working with Jennifer has been really a great experience for us. I mean, we get players, mid-afternoon, and they're supposed to play that night. So her being flexible enough to be able to put new nameplates on, fixing pants that have been ripped before we go on a road trip, and she's been amazing at that.
It's a detailed duty to stitch the names to the jerseys, but they have it down to a science.
Okay, so take the E, put that on, and then space it out.
A seemingly simple task for this professional crew, but one that makes all the difference for the players.
A lot of teams don't wear uniforms with their names on the back. I think it's a great honor for the guys. It helps show our fans who these players are, get to know them. I mean, at single-A ball, these are guys that are starting their careers. They're not really established yet, so it helps let our fans know who these guys are.
Yeah, like we made Santa hats for Stu and Swoop this past Christmas.
While bridal, costume, and custom designs is their specialty, the South Bend Seamstresses have become pros at assembling these ensembles.
It's been a lot of fun, and the fact is, she's just a couple blocks from the ballpark, so it makes it convenient from that standpoint. And yeah, she's part of the team.
They do some great work. Hey, if you know anyone that should be featured in Our Michiana, email me at dmarae@wsbt.com. When an accident happens, who do you call?
I would definitely call my mom. That'd be the first option right off the bat.
I would call my mom, probably.
Most likely my mom or dad.
Probably call my dad. First person on my contacts, though. He always picks up, always reliable.
But what if they don't pick up?
If you're in doubt, call 911.
Emergency room Dr. Byers-Wells says 911 is your best bet.
I think if you feel you're having a serious issue, if you're having a heart attack or stroke, if you're having chest pain or weakness, you need to call an ambulance. Get here as quickly as possible.
It's about getting to the patient quickly, safety and efficiency on the scene, and making sure medical care is administered in a timely manner.
Essentially, it's the first line treatment of an emergency room. So it's an emergency room on wheels.
Mishawaka's Assistant Chief of EMS says his department works hand in hand with local emergency room doctors.
In the case of a severe trauma, they'll go ahead and page in the trauma teams before we ever get there. Or in the case of a stroke, someone needs to get to the CT scanner right away. They can clear that CT scanner before we ever get there.
But when it comes to notifying the hospital, checking vitals, and stabilizing broken bones,
1, 2, 3.
Some may argue the care doesn't come cheap. An ambulance ride can cost hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. That's where ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft have come into play.
Uber would be really cheap compared to 911 because you could be paying a lot of money for 911.
According to a study from the University of Kansas, in more than 750 cities, ambulance usage dropped by at least 7% in cities with Uber. It's a trend happening all across the U.S. But is it safe?
If you're worried about the cost of the ambulance transportation, but it's an emergency, that needs to be the last thing we're thinking of.
Jeff Zielinski is the Chief Operations Officer at InHealth Integrated Care. He's transported patients across town and across the country. He says sometimes it only takes minutes for a situation to become life or death.
There was a vehicle accident. It was actually a vehicle that got hit by a train, and so we responded on scene for that. Once we got it loaded into the back of the ambulance, I found out that he was in a very critical condition as he started losing consciousness. And at that point in time, we did get a helicopter transport to get him to the nearest trauma center as quickly as possible.
Those few extra minutes in caring hands are critical. It's when they opt to not call 911, the situation can get worse.
If they'd called an ambulance 30 minutes ago and gotten here 15 or 20 minutes sooner, could they be in a better position than they are right now?
And when the situation becomes dire, Zielinski says you want the trained professionals on your side.
In your ambulance is going to be an emergency medical technician and a paramedic. All of those are qualified individuals. When it comes to your Uber drivers, they likely aren't even aware of CPR.
A statement from Uber seems to echo the doctor and first responders. It says it's important to note that Uber is not a substitute for law enforcement or medical professionals. In the event of any medical emergency, we encourage people to call 911. The people we spoke to agree. In an emergency, 911 over Uber.
First thing I would do would be to call 911. Because, they're going to be the fastest to respond.
Well, first off, I'd call 911.
I'd probably call 911 because, they're professionals. They know what they're doing.
I would call 911.
Trained professionals. I've known a lot of EMT, law enforcement type guys. They know what they're doing. You call Uber, you call Ride Lyft, it's a crapshoot. Nice enough people, I'm sure, but that's not who you want in an emergency.
The bottom line, sometimes the price is worth it.
If it's truly an emergency, the cost of not getting there, could be your life.